Hi, good evening and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting of 26th of March 2024. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people, and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people that are visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe, and especially those in Ukraine and the Middle East. We seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. Some matters for your attention and clarification before we begin. Thank you for your support last meeting as we trialled the new agenda system that will be used again tonight. A reminder once again about declaring a conflict of interest, the type and for what reason, just before the particular item of debate. You also need to declare if you're going to stay in the room or leave the chamber, whichever is the case. Also a reminder about the use of point of order. They apply to matters of procedure only, addressed directly to the presiding member, with an explanation of that breach of procedure according to the meeting procedures or local government procedures at meetings. Point of order will be dealt with immediately, and the ruling of the presiding member is final, not up for debate. Guides regarding these matters were provided to you on your tables at the meeting on March the 12th. And two final reminders: to not use your mobile phones and turn off your microphone as soon as you have finished speaking, please. Now to the agenda. We have one deputation to be heard and one confidential item at the end of the meeting which must be attended to tonight. Declaration of interest I've dealt with already. We do have an absence, sorry, number 6. We do have an apology from...
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I seek leave of the meeting to move that the late deputation be heard, please.
Yeah, can I just finish going through the absences and we get to that point? I'm happy for you to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. We've got to go through first of all, number 6.6, absence. There is an apology who's come in late from Councillor Hubel. Declaration I've mentioned, confirmation of minutes. I'll deal with that one next. And seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, seconded by Councillor Dawes. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We don't have. Now I will deal with your request.
I seek leave of the meeting to move that the late deputation be heard, please.
And a seconder? Councillor Hallett. All those in favour? Against? Oh, sorry, you need to state what it's about. What's the deputation about?
The Kensington Gardens Reserve Club are in redevelopment.
Right.
Thank you.
Now all those in favour? Against? Carried. Did you vote there, Councillor Jones? I did, okay. I just didn't see your hand. All right, now we'll move to declaration of interest. I've actually dealt with that one, haven't we? We don't have any at this point in time because they're going to speak later. All right, public presentations. We have no presentations, but we do have deputations, and the first one is from Mr. Mark Mitten. So would you like to come to the centre, please, Mr. Mitten? And for the sake of the other deputies tonight, 5 minutes from when you start speaking, and then please remain at the table, and in case there are elected members who wish to ask you questions. So, Mr. Mitten, just your name and suburb you reside in, and then we start recording your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Mitten. I reside at Erbray, so in the Mitcham Council, but our hockey club, Burnside Hockey Club, resides in this Burnside Council area. So the reason we are speaking to you is we're asking Burnside Council to speak to Campbelltown Council about some land that may come up with the sale of UniSA, the land at St Bernard's Road at McGill, and we would love to see that be used for sporting grounds and a portion of that to a hockey pitch which the Burnside Hockey Club could use. There's a very good chance it will be sold and sold to the highest bidder, and probably that might mean, you know, more residential places, but once that land is sold to residential areas, then it's gone forever and lost to sporting and other ventures. So we're asking that it be set aside for sporting facilities and a community clubhouse be used there. A little bit about our club. We're 75 years old. We've been around since 1949. We've got about 300 hockey players, a bit over 300 hockey players. 50% of those are male, 50% female, and over half of those are juniors. We've got people as young as 6 playing in our hockey club and people as old as 75 still playing. We used to, many years ago, have a home pitch at Kensington Gardens Reserve when hockey was played on grass. And then in the mid-80s, hockey moved to a synthetic surface, and we couldn't play on grass any longer, and so we moved to play our home matches at Jepps Cross. So we actually asked back then in 1986 whether we could get a hockey pitch at Kensington Gardens, but there's some beautiful trees there and a lot of residents who are understandably not too happy to lose those. So we've been unsuccessful in looking for a home for over 30 years. So it's been a long journey for us. In terms of the area that we play, so we play some of our junior games at PAC, the senior games are played at Jepps Cross. The reason we can't play Premier League games at PAC is that the runoff area is too small, and so you run into a concrete barrier and a fence. So to play high-grade hockey, it's deemed by the Hockey Association that's just unsafe. So our players train at PAC, juniors, and then a lot of trainings at Jepps Cross. We also have trainings at Mount Barker, and our committees meet at Paynham Bowling Club. So we're sort of very disparate areas that we come from, and you know, in order to be a force and attract players and so forth, the idea of having a pitch next to a clubhouse like so many sports have would be fantastic for us. We do miss out on that social connection of not having a clubhouse and a pitch together. The other thing is that a lot of people give up on hockey because it's a long way to go, particularly women as you have young families, to drive to Jepps Cross, which can be a 40-minute drive, to play a game of hockey and come back to your family is a pretty big commitment when you've got to train there and play there. In terms of our history, you know, we've had a long history of winning. We've won premierships. The women have won 9 premierships, the men 4 premierships. We have had 5 Olympians play at our club, come from Burnside Hockey Club, which I think is a very good track record, including probably the captain of this year's Paris Olympics, came from Burnside Hockey Club, and so she now resides in Perth but played all her hockey at Burnside. So we think we've got a very good case in terms of looking for an area, and as I say, if the land, this land at St Bernard's Road is one of the last areas in the eastern side of town where we could potentially get a pitch. There just isn't land in that area. And in terms of hockey, the grounds are, the closest grounds to us is Adelaide Hockey Club, which is Peacock Road and Greenhill Road, and then all the way out to Golden Grove, where North East Hockey Club play. So between that, there is no area for a pitch and a clubhouse in that vicinity. So there's a great area that's untapped, and we believe we could attract a lot of hockey players and potentially more people playing the sport if we had suitable facilities. So that's it really in a nutshell. I could go on, but I think that my time is just about done anyway, and so open for questions from anyone.
Councillor Dawes.
Mark, my first question is, if you are successful in finding any venue, and we're talking about off St Bernard's Road, what amount of funds could the hockey club provide for that particular development?
So the hockey club presently has got $150,000 available in bank account, And if we were successful, there are old supporters, players and whatever who have said that they would be very happy to donate some money. So in terms of how much that would be, it'd be difficult, but I would have thought we could raise another $50,000 to $100,000 on top of that.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you very much for your presentation. With this block of land, would it be possible to fit in a skate park there as well?
There would actually. We've actually drawn some plans up. It happens that my son's partner she plays hockey and she's an architect, and she's actually drawn plans up. And obviously they could be changed. There would be room for a soccer pitch in there. There would be room for something like pickleball, and there could easily be room for a basketball or a skate park. So that would solve your problem there. So,
Thank you very much.
Councillor Davey.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming along tonight. I've got two questions. How many of your the Burnside Hockey Club members actually reside in Burnside?
75 members.
Out of?
Out of 300 players.
Right.
So a lot of them, as you can imagine, just fit just outside the area in Norwood or Mitcham or St Peters, which don't fall in your council area. But yes, 75 out of the 300.
Thank you.
But this is the only
question-
club, isn't it, in the area? Only hockey club in the area?
Yes, indeed.
My other question is, why haven't you, with having been a peripatetic club for 30 years, why haven't you amalgamated with another club and built up and built on that to become, to then be able to find grounds that, perhaps in the northeast or somewhere like that, where
we actually
it's
did
less densely populated as Burnside is?
Yeah, we actually did do a joint submission with Adelaide Hockey Club a few years ago to actually look at that area near West Terrace, Anzac Highway, where the netball courts are towards the showgrounds there, to do 2 pitches, one for them and one for us. And we were unsuccessful in the end. Whilst the council showed initial interest, I think the sway about parklands and losing areas to parklands. So we have actually tried that. Forestville Hockey Club have been recently successful in building a pitch that's being built at the moment at Unley High School. There is no room. We've actually approached Forestville. There is actually no room for other teams. And in fact, we couldn't even get training times, bar a Monday and a Friday evening, and no times on the weekend with them because it is full. So Adelaide Hockey Club's full, Forestville Hockey Club is full. So.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for raising our awareness. Very grateful for that. And my question is, negotiations with universities, is that underway, or where are you at with that?
Well, a long way at the moment.
Yep.
At the moment, the government state government has taken over that area, and they will sell that land at some stage. And, they may decide to sell to the highest bidder. But then they've also asked for community consultation as to what to do with that land. So it would be incumbent on us and other sports, which I'm sure would be very keen to use that area as well, to put a case to them to say, let's not just build it with residential area, because as I say, it'll be lost. And, with urban infill the way it is, and the number of new people that are moving into suburbs, there's just not enough sporting grounds. So hopefully it's not just a case of the highest bidder, because otherwise it may end up with just being residential and nothing else. Because as I say, once it goes, we'll never get it back again.
That's right. And is there a plan B? So if this plan A doesn't eventuate, are there any other options like sharing facilities with another club? I don't know if it's possible with cricket, whether you can have, with hockey, whether you can have a hockey ground with some other activity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With other hockey clubs, as I said, Forestville and Adelaide are already, they're already full, so we can't do anything there. In terms of other sporting clubs, I mean, if it was a synthetic surface, you could potentially do other sports like netball and so forth on there,
Right.
which would be great.
Okay.
There's also McGill Primary is only 300 metres away. So the idea of them having a synthetic surface where they could do their after-school OSH programs, to be able to do phys ed programs and come down on a synthetic surface, which you could use all year round, because midwinter when ovals are boggy and so forth, I think it would be, this is why only High wanted to have a hockey pitch there, because they'd be able to use it. And on the other side, the Moriarty Secondary School is only 500 metres away. So potentially they could use the facility as well. So we don't see it just being used for hockey.
Great ideas for our open space layer work. Thank you.
No problem.
Councillor Cornish.
Thanks for coming in. Just at this point in time, you're only asking this council to support the City of Campbelltown to try and retain this space as open space from the state government and not be sold as residential land.
Correct.
That's what you're currently asking of us tonight.
That is correct.
Is just to help protect open space.
Correct.
Brilliant, thank you.
Councillor Wilkin.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr Mitten, for coming in. As a former hockey player, I'm happy to support you. My understanding is that land is under, as Councillor Cornish pointed out, under the government, but I would be pitching my case to Renewal SA and Mr Stephen Haynes, who has courage of selling off that land. I think we should actually, as a group of Eastern councils, support your case for a team, because you will attract lots of people. I remember the Haslam girls both playing hockey. So that's an important thing. And my question is, do get on to Renewal SA before it's too late.
All right, it's more of a statement than a question, but we got there. Okay, Councillor Hallett.
I've got, thank you for coming in, Mark, and for telling us about the proposal. I think it's a great idea. Like, regardless of whether it's hockey or what, I think it's really important that council is involved in protecting that land for as open space. I just got a question in regard to why does hockey get played on synthetic grass? Is that because it's state or national or international requirements? What's that?
It is state international requirements. I mean, Australia presently sits in the top 5 teams in the world in terms of both men and women for hockey.
Yep.
And all hockey is played on synthetic surfaces.
Okay.
So if we're going to compete with overseas and we're going to compete with other states, all our hockey is played on synthetic surfaces. So.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you for coming in. Look, I don't fancy your chances of getting this land, although I'm happy to support your bid. Just a question on a clubhouse. Is there anything we can do to prevail on one of our existing sporting clubs to give you a clubhouse home? Because there's these gentlemen behind you who are after $2.9 million of our money, might be prepared to share their clubhouse. I can think of Beaumont Bowling Club. They're not really evening users of a club. I can think of Old Collegians RFC. Got a brand new facility, big bar, plenty of space for a hockey team. So just a thought.
Yeah. No, very fair question. I think the thing, what we really need is a clubhouse next to a pitch. I mean, we actually had a clubhouse at Kensington Gardens many years ago. And the problem is when you go out to play at Jepps Cross and then you get your players to say, right, we're now going to go from Jepps Cross, drive all the way to Burnside to have a drink together and then go home. You actually just lose people in the transition, because we actually did have a clubhouse at that point. Once we lost the pitch of playing next door, then really we lost the case in terms of that. So our issue is not so much where to go and have a drink and socialise, it's having a pitch next to a hockey, a pitch next to a club rooms where people can see their kids at a playground or a barbecue or playing out there, so that they're all together as a community.
Councillor Davey, you have another question?
Thank you. Yes, just one follow-up. I just wondered what your link is with Campbelltown Council. Why do they not have land available that might be?
Sorry, with Campbelltown?
Yes, well, they're more likely to have more open space out that way.
Yeah, no, that's the reason we're actually coming to Burnside, to them, because they've actually asked for a deputation from Burnside Council to Campbelltown Council, because they know that land is coming up at some point and will be available. So they want to see that you support our representation, basically.
Thank you very much for coming in, Mr Mitten, and sharing your concerns with us. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
And now I'll ask whoever is doing the deputation to come forward and state their name and suburb they live in, please. If there are two of you, that's fine. A third chair, that's fine as well, I assume.
Start with you.
I'm Greg English, President Burnside Rugby Club. I live in Toorak Gardens.
My name's Tom Dalrymple. I'm a director at RCP. I've been appointed by both clubs to act as project manager.
My name is Michael Davies. I'm a committee member, a steering committee member and a player at Kensington Cricket Club, and I live in Norwood.
You can turn the microphone towards you.
Okay, that makes it
Great. Thank you for your time, guys. Last Tuesday, we went through quite a bit of detail about what we're proposing in a report, so we'll try to summarise what we believe are key points today for interest. So the project was initially, as we previously advised, conceived back in 2018. A design was prepared and it was valued at the time at $8.27 million. And that was back then supported by Council on the 22nd of September, subject to in-kind funding by state and Commonwealth. Between that notion and today, as we discussed last week, there's been unprecedented inflation to the tune of 35%, and we have a revised estimate value from the previous scheme of $11 million. In response to that, the project team has prepared a revised scheme, which is a value engineered scheme, and we've managed to reduce the construction estimate considerably to $9.18 million. Concurrently, the clubs have sought and secured state funding and Commonwealth funding. It's been quite a hard process, and Michael will talk to that in a minute. And we're in a position where we have conditions under both of those agreements that need to be met, including milestones, and we need to be proceeding with the project almost immediately. I will hand over to Michael now just to talk about that funding process, and then I'll summarise the project in a little more detail.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So in 2018, both the cricket and the rugby club came together and devised a committee of around 12 people in order to obtain funds from different levels of government in order to bring to life this vision that we have to redevelop our club rooms and provide a facility that's fitting for the communities and the clubs and the people that fit within those. So that group was made up of some really talented individuals in liaising with government in terms of getting MP support, in terms of working through state and federal processes. In the first instance, we were able to get funding from the states. Those applications were hundreds of pages, and that was agreed to in 2020, I believe. We subsequently went through a change in government, so we initially had support from the Liberal government at the time. Unfortunately, a change in government led to a deferment in the commitment that was made. So then again, last year we went through the process of applying for the federal funds. The application that was put together for that required over 600 pages of information. The reality of the time investment from the clubs and the people that have put in, and I'm sure many of you have met with Isabel and Peter McCusker, and some of you have spent the time to come up and see the club rooms. The investment is incredible. The man hours are over 1,000 hours, and the process has been arduous to obtain the 68% that we currently have for the funded project. So I think that's a bit of an overview of the funding process. Obviously, still working through this element, but it is the final element for us to have a fully funded project.
So the current facility is at end of life. It is well past end of life. The proposed facility has been benchmarked based on other recent developments of similar scale, and we are confident that the QS's estimate is correct for this project and this level of quality. It is the professional opinion of RCP, the architect and the QS that further value management to reduce costs would not be possible without requiring scope deletion and/or quality reduction. We are still maintaining all of the original proposed scope requirements of the project and all of the original design standards, including ESD, building design, quality and plant quality, potential for solar, potential for water reuse, non-impact to trees, gym and strength for life, suitability, and minimisation of general maintenance and upkeep.
That's your 5 minutes, so council can provide you with a little more time if you have a little more to say, if they are willing to. You accept that without me going to a formal vote? All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Right now we have a executed funding deed of 3.6 million from the Commonwealth and state funding of 2.67 million, bringing us to 6.27 in total. The project estimated cost is 9.18 million, requiring an input of council of 2.91 million. And we're requesting that funding be provided today to allow us to proceed with the development phase of the project, being completion of design, a tender process and construction of the club rooms. Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you for coming in. I've got a whole heap of questions, so everybody bear with me. I've got 8. But
we'll
go
one at a time, or a subsequent question.
Number 1, could you please describe what you mean by the substantial community benefits with enhanced facilities for both clubs and the broader community, which is in your statement, with emphasis on the community? So what can you provide for the community with this?
Maybe to start. So our clubs are a hub for everyone in that precinct. I think if you come up on any evening, you'll see sports occurring, whether it's summer or winter, but you also see a number of people that are utilising that area and that gardens, of which has seen a lot of investment over the last few years. There's hundreds of people up there every day. I think that's fair to say, and it's in a beautiful landscape in order for us to upgrade that area. I think we don't know what the opportunity is in total until we have that facility come to fruition. But what I can say is that the opportunity to build a facility that is in keeping with the area and enhances the area and bring in people not only to the sports clubs but to have a facility that they can utilise, and we have community members come into our cricket club all the time, whether it's to use the restroom facilities or to get a drink or to get out of the sun. I think the precinct itself needs this facility and it needs this upgrade and this needs this.
So that means the dog walker can just hang their dog up, put them on a lead and go in and get a drink without being a member?
Yeah, they do that frequently.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Understanding
you kind of had a second little question
that's
then.
another question.
So what I'll do is I'll move to the next, and you can still ask questions, but just join the queue again, all right?
Okay, I'm joining.
So if you turn your mic off, next person to speak is Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in this evening. My question is, how did the clubs actually secure the funding, the 68.3% unprecedented funding from the state and federal governments, and how long did this actually take you? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So that process began in 2018. It effectively took us, the better part of 5 years in order to secure funding from the state and federal governments, and the reality is within that time it would have been meetings for 10 to 12 of our community members weekly or monthly. We currently meet weekly as a steering committee. The investment in time is huge, and it's been across many members of our club. I think there wouldn't be there would be few that haven't had a significant interest, and there are many that have had a significant impact into trying to obtain these funds. It has been a process that, certainly from my perspective, I was a part of it in 2018 and I picked it up again in 2021. It's taken up more hours than I can count, and I think that's the same for the rugby club representatives, and the collective effort and investment of time of some very, very, very specialised skills is incredible.
Councillor Hallett.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming in. The costs that the club has covered to date, such as hire of architects, hire of project manager, funding consultancy, planning advice, etc. Are you able to put a cost on that, how much you've spent to date?
Circa $50,000 to date.
Sorry?
Circa $50,000 to date.
50,000.
50,000.
Thank you. I have got another question, but I'll wait my turn.
Next is Councillor Dawes. If you just turn your mic off, please, Councillor Hallett.
Yes, I've got a number of questions, so I'll follow your advice there. My first couple about the build. Cox Architect representative on last Tuesday said one of the main debating points amongst the clubs was the number of change rooms, 6. Can you take us through the rationale of why you desperately need 6 change rooms?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you would have seen in our demographics and our club information, we have many different representations. We have men's, women's, junior men's, and significant amount of teams. So whilst there's 6 grounds there, from a cricket club perspective, what you're getting if you have those 6 change rooms is you have a purposeful area to have all of our community have appropriate changing facilities. If you go up to the current area, and we spoke about it in depth last week, and Sarah articulated really nicely how important it is especially for our women's players, to have a facility that is fitting for them. They are, to be honest, the pride of our club, and they've just gone through their 3rd premiership over the weekend. And the reality is that the facility that we provide them at the moment, and only having 1 or 2 change rooms, is not adequate. It is to detriment of women's cricket. It is really hard for us to prove that we have appropriate facilities and bring people in when the club rooms that we give to them at the moment is, well, atrocious, to be honest. For those that have seen it would agree. So 6 change rooms gives us the autonomy to be able to switch the players and the groups that we have come through that facility. It's important, and the other side of it is that it's required from both the state and the federal funding. So without building 6 change rooms, we're not meeting the requirements of our other funding parties.
Councillor Turnbull, you're next.
Oh, thank you again. Understanding the poor state of the facilities, I was showing them about 6 years ago. What fundraising have the clubs done in the last 6 years, and could you describe some of them? What have you done?
You again, mate.
Okay. Yeah, so outside of the 68% funding that we've obtained, so both clubs do a huge amount of fundraising, and it's part of how we keep our clubs going as well. So I think Anne was present at our brown tie ball last year. We have, I think we run fundraising events probably, well, certainly during the season, every 2 months. We've run substantial fundraising, but obviously the time investment of obtaining the state and the federal funds has been the big investment from the clubs, and the big fundraising that we've done. We've also been able to raise funds from our association bodies and SACA, and SACA is that for the cricket side, and we've done our best within the rugby side as well to do similar. But the fundraising that the clubs do is part of our normal course of business, but it's also part of this project, and as we're able to develop this more, we'll do everything we can to obtain whatever funds needed to enhance the precinct, and that's what we've done here effectively.
Councillor Dawes.
Sorry, just further to the fundraising. In addition to the fundraising, we get a lot of in-kind contributions from our volunteers and local businesses as well. So we might, you know, advertise on a T-shirt or something, or allow a free barbecue on their behalf. But we get a lot of in-kind contributions, which really go a long way to the maintenance.
Now, Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I have one more build question, but I'll come back to that one. In the papers, we've got a membership for cricket of 790 and a statement that your total cash reserves is 25,000. Is that right? I've just found that astounding that is such a low figure, unless you've got something in a term deposit somewhere.
Yeah, so as we talked about last week, our cash reserve, effectively the club operates that we invest everything that we have in order to facilitate the best services we can to our members, and the rugby club is the same. We don't hold cash for anything other than how we can provide the best service to our clubs and to the people that play within our clubs. And the reality is we don't want to run a significant surplus, because that would mean that we're not doing our community and our members right. Our obligation for our community is to provide the best service we possibly can. We're a premier club. Both clubs are the highest level you can play within SA without playing for the state. So our obligation is to provide the best service we can to all of the members through all of our grades and all of our levels. So as a result, our members receive all of the resources that we have and all that we can provide.
Okay. My second question won't be following on from that, so I think I'll come back.
Now, Councillor Cornish.
This is a question for both clubs. How many ovals do you both use at the reserve, and how many teams per oval can you use, like, are needed concurrently for when you're playing on a weekend?
So we currently use all 3 ovals for training and playing, and it's not just us that uses it for playing. Our whole collegians struggle to meet all of their to play all their games on the one day, so they do play some games on a Friday night, but also their 3rd grade and their under 18s will come over and use our ovals during the year. So we use it for rugby, as well as we allow Dudley United Football Club from Kangaroo Island to use it for training, as well as Saints Girls Footy. Pembroke Rugby was using it. I'm not sure what's happening to their rugby program this year, but between all of us, we do use all 3 ovals.
Yeah, so equally from a cricket perspective, all 3 grounds are always used every weekend. And by every weekend, I mean some grounds are used Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, so 4 games. The reality is, if we had more grounds, we would be able to utilise them with the teams that we have. We're always looking for grounds and areas to facilitate more cricket. We have huge programs, as you can see in our demographics. There's substantial numbers there, and equally, if you rock up on a Monday night or a Wednesday night, we've lent out our ovals to IGSA, so there'll be school-age girls playing on synthetic pitches around the grounds. There'll be young players in both the hard and the turf wickets. So, in terms of utilisation of that area and those grounds, it is at maximum capacity at all times.
Follow-up question, if I can, Your Worship. Have you thought about, given the current state of the facilities, of transportables on some of the car parks in the facility for change rooms to meet some of those needs? Is that something that has been considered currently?
Are you referring to during construction of the new facility?
No. Right now. You've got prep facilities right now.
Yeah.
Like for the last 8 years, has it come up to actually provide these facilities?
I think from a strategic perspective from both clubs, we've been very focused on we effectively understand that this building is at end of life or past end of life. So we have been very focused in trying to obtain the funding to allow us to build a redevelopment and a new club rooms in the current square footage that would be sufficient. We think the reality is that if we try to get demountable or portable club rooms into that precinct, we'd have a lot more trouble working with the community members than we would trying to upgrade the current facility. So it hasn't really been considered, and we've deferred the ability to use that during the seasons when the build would occur, in order to keep the community as happy as possible and to make sure that we have the least impact on the individuals that are utilising the area that aren't sports related. So the clubs will vacate for a year or so that we can get the best possible outcome for the council and for the building that we're trying to have put together.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations on all the effort you've put in. It's amazing that you've finally managed to pull together all this money, so well done. It must have been a huge effort. One of the issues that I get complaints about, and I notice, is how run down the club rooms are. And I think you've tuned into what the community values about the park and what level of tolerance they've got to activities associated with the clubs. How, once it's built and we get to the lease signing stage, how much are you prepared to work with maintaining the facility, you know, a nice facility, and the environment around it, and making sure it all fits in and works with that? Because I think there might be some changes coming about how we get our community to maintain their sporting facilities.
Yeah, so currently the clubs maintain the facility in totality, so there's no effort that's done to the clubs that isn't done by a community member. And if you go into the club rooms at the moment, you'll see that there's a part of a fence sitting on the roof where one of our volunteers has fixed the roof. Effectively, everything that is maintenance is done by the community at the moment, so we'll continue to do that. Effectively, the club rooms is our home, so it's everything to us. So I think you'd continue to see the same level of care and consideration in how we put together this club rooms and how we look after it going forward. It is effectively where we spend all of our time, so critical to us. And I think one thing that we haven't really raised is the opportunity for us to bring in more people into our communities and to make more people feel at home within these clubs. It is a really good opportunity for us, and for us as a council to build something that is in keeping with the beautiful area that we have. So we're so lucky in the facility and the surroundings that we have, and we think that the opportunity to build something that sort of is in keeping with that, and that our community members would dictate and require and need is really critical.
Councillor Turnbull.
This is a follow-on from Councillor Davey, actually. With the granting of such a long lease, 20 years at peppercorn rent, which of course is $1 a year, what will the clubs provide by way of contributions and maintenance for the new build? Have you worked that out yet?
So the clubs actually provide, so we pay a peppercorn lease for the building, but we pay rates for all of the grounds use. So we do contribute a reasonable amount to the precinct. The reality is at this stage, we maintain all of the clubroom facilities, all of the area, and things like the pitches and the grounds maintenance is done by the clubs, because we need it at a level that is very high for the Premier cricket and the Premier rugby that's played at the ground. So we'll make we require that standard, so we won't move from it. Effectively, we'll keep our grounds and our club rooms at the level that we have for as many years as we've had this area so far. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yes. It'll do.
Yeah, I think the current lease rates are, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, it's around about 11,000 for rugby to use the ovals, and I think it's about 23,000 for cricket as a licence fee to use the ovals.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
Oh, you have another question?
I don't. I'm doing one at a time. Yeah.
Oh, it's me. Is it me?
No, it's Councillor Hallett.
Oh,
She was next on my list.
so so what do I want to do? Turn off and turn on again?
You're next, councillor Dawes.
Oh, I'm next. I am next.
After councillor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just turn yours off, Mike. Sorry, councillor Dawes. And turn yours on, councillor Hart. I've got them written down, so go on. Yes, you're off.
Mine is just.
Can you just turn yours off, please, because I haven't got you registered anyway, but I will write you down.
Okay.
I've got councillor Hart, then councillor Dawes, and then councillor Davey, all right?
Look, I don't know if you've done these calculations, but just as an estimate, what costs have the club covered to date in regard, are you able to give a ballpark figure on how much volunteer hours have facilitated the funding and planning and design stages to date? What sort of in-kind financial support have the club done? Because I've done a napkin calculation just based on what you told me to my other question, and it's actually quite high.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think all of you will have seen in the presentation that we provided last week the quality of the individuals that sit on the steerco that are currently managing this process, and they're truly leading and industry experts in delivering projects of this calibre and far higher. In respect to obtaining the funding, we had Isabel Redmond and Peter McCusker, who are very, very qualified in their fields, advocating on behalf of the clubs, and the hours that those two individuals put in alone would be certainly hundreds, if not thousands of hours. And I think from both the rugby and the cricket club to estimate underneath 1,000 hours put into this project would be under. So the investment in time from both sides of this project delivery group have been massive. If I put a number on it, it probably wouldn't be enough. So it's a substantial effort.
By that calculation, based on just your comment about 10 members attending weekly meetings for 5 years, and then that would work out to be $780,000 worth of contributed time. So thank you for that.
Now, the next person, I'm going to have to get you to turn your microphones off, because the next person is councillor Dawes, followed by councillor Davey, then followed by councillor Turnbull, and then followed by councillor Harvey. Right? Because I've been writing them down as you've been registering them, but they don't sync on the screen. So councillor Dawes, you are next, then councillor Davey, then councillor Turnbull, then councillor Harvey.
Right, so I want to go back to last Tuesday again, and I think, Tom, you said the furniture was included in the build, if I remember rightly. I forgot to ask, you've got a couple of memorabilia walls in there.
Yes.
Is that also included in the build, or will that be paid for by the club separately?
The memorabilia is existing, so it's club's memorabilia.
Yeah, but
what the design allows for is to facilitate the display of that memorabilia in a way that the new facility will still feel like a club room and have that on display.
So that's not in the build?
The walls to facilitate
the walls are there,
is in there, and the memorabilia is existing.
All right, so here comes my big question for you. And you and I have been through this with other sport facilities, so you probably be waiting for it. But this is plan A for you guys. All right, so we want $910,000 from you.
Yeah.
All right. Plan B. If you are unsuccessful tonight, and I know a couple of councillors have been talking to me about this, does that mean, I'm sorry, federal government, you can have your money back, state government, you have your money back? What are you thinking? Have you thought about plan B at this stage?
We have, yes. Plan B would involve us varying the state and federal funding deeds to significantly reduce the scope of works of the project, and likely not being successful in doing so because we have been signed up by both of those deeds to a fixed scope of works, which is represented in this paper.
All right. I have another solution, but I'll do that in the actual debate. Thank you.
Person is Councillor Davey.
Thank you. My next question is about capacity, and in one of your diagrams for the upper ground of the facility, you're talking about functions and conferences and things like that. All great stuff to use the site. I'm just wondering about capacity of the site and how this will all fit in with parking availability, its location in the park. I mean, how many people would you expect to have at a function there? How many people would be at a conference? Those sort of questions have come to mind. Thanks.
Do you want to go? I can answer that question. So initially, the design room has been the design has been put forward as a club room, and the design of the upstairs is largely a product of the size of downstairs. So we needed 6 change rooms. We've got the minimum area for 6 change rooms downstairs. It just makes sense that upstairs is obviously the same size. As it turns out, in a function mode of seated people, that could house about 100 people, and in a lecture mode, 100, and in a standing sort of event mode up to 150. The size of the kitchen facility has been designed to now facilitate that use as well. But this is in the building itself. This doesn't consider car parking or the overall use of the gardens. That would have to be something that's talked about. The scope of this project is the building itself and not further upgrades to the gardens. We don't believe it's required at this point because the current car parking is suitable for the clubs to operate. If functions were becoming a significant use of the facility and car parking was desired, that could be explored, but at this point it's not considered necessary.
Right, now, Councillor Turnbull, you're next, and then followed by Councillor Harvey. Put your microphone on. You can press your button, and then I've hopefully got this back to... Yes.
We keep hearing that this is an urgent decision that Council has to make it urgently by the end of March. Now, what are the exact dates of the expiry of the federal and state government grants? There must be an exact date somewhere.
Sure. We have a milestone in July under the Commonwealth where we need to have the project.
July. So we've still got a few more months if it was deferred.
Well, by July, we have to have the design finalised. We have to have approvals in place, which is inclusive of Burnside planning approval. And we need to have final cost estimates and a detailed cost plan submitted to the federal government. That will require design work from April through to July to achieve that milestone. It is currently under pressure.
Were those grants indexed?
Sorry?
Are the grants indexed? Because they came back from 2020. So I just wondered if they were indexed like...
No, they are not. They are fixed amounts.
But the council amount is. Right, thank you.
Now, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Seems to be a lot of concerns about your ability to fundraise. So my question is, what type of scope do you think this new facility will bring to not only club members but the whole community, and will this significantly bring a large increase to your ability to fundraise through having this beautiful new facility for functions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from a club perspective, our ability to fundraise is often based on our ability to hold events and host events. And in the past, probably 5-10 years, we've held less and less events within our area because, to be fair, it is just not appropriate. The opportunity for us is to be able to bring people in, and I think everyone that has come up to the club rooms understands the feeling that you get when you come into an area that doesn't feel like it's open and inclusive and a home for people that aren't strictly members of the club. And I think that's something that we're really looking forward to the opportunity of doing, to bringing. And I think you can see as part of the artist impression is that it's an open building which has many points of entry and is far more welcoming than the current effective tin shed that we have for our club rooms. So for us, the opportunity is to bring our community and to bring everyone into the clubs, which to monetise isn't as important as to bring the communities in and to make people feel at home in our clubs like we do for so many people that are part of our current membership.
Councillor Turnbull.
My last one, I promise. I find the figures, membership figures, quite confusing. For example, you say you've got 200 junior female members, but only 4 teams. As you're 11 in a team plus a couple of reserves, this equates to 48 players. What do the other 150 junior females do?
Yeah.
Are they a cheer squad?
No. Thank you for your question. So in terms of the way that, so our junior females, for example, we have academies and we have members that don't play in a team. So to speak to the Premier Cricket pathway, especially for the females, they don't actually start playing in formal teams until maybe they're 9 or 10, and often that can be in a mixed group playing on a synthetic pitch around the ground. So our pathways, and as we're trying to develop a sport, often involve people coming into training environments where they don't play a game and they don't play in a team. I think you can probably understand, and a great example of this is on a Wednesday night when the 8 sets of teams play around the ground. That 8 sets of teams doesn't necessarily mean they're formal teams. They're not a membership team in our club. Our teams are set as quite a stringent age group, but when you have under 6s, under 7s, under 8s playing around the ground, they don't formalise as a team, but they are part of our club and they are part of our community. I think what those figures don't represent is the touch point that we have as a club, and same with rugby, for communities that come into our area. So from a women's perspective, we're the most northern club in the state. We represent all of the opportunity and all of the pathways for Premier women to play up into state and for our country. That is the pathway for them, and they start as a 6-year-old playing and training on our grounds and in our facilities and in our area. It is really the elite pathway, and it caters to a community that is far outside of this council for sure. Many are from this council, but it does have a wide-ranging reach. It also encapsulates everyone that comes from another club into our community. So every weekend we have, for whatever demographic we have playing from our side and our team and our membership, we have the other side coming, and whether it be men, women, junior boys, junior females, it's a huge reach that our club rooms and our precinct has. And that's probably why you see when we talk to the car parking, like obviously the games don't change, the general use won't fundamentally change, but the people coming in and having an enjoyable experience within our area will fundamentally change.
So they all pay membership fees, do they? All these 200 young girls?
So no, absolutely. So part of our programs is, and part of, as we talk through, our club's not running a substantial surplus, is because we invest in our programs, we invest in we effectively, and to give you some idea, a senior men's subscription is, so to play for a year is $550 per season, and for our academy programs, depending on how much utilisation of the grounds, how much resources they're using, they may not pay fees for that season. They may not pay fees until they're a C grade or a B grade playing in a senior women's or in a junior team that's a structured pathway, a structured program. Does that answer your question?
It does. So they're not really members?
Depends on how you... Would you like me to... I can answer that. I think these... Define membership, for me, these people that come into our community that are taught by our coaches, that are taught by our people, that have so much impact. I think they are absolutely members. They're people that spend hours, days per week at our club. They spend more time in our club rooms than many others. I think an under 12-year-old female player can't be expected to pay significant, especially when they'll come through a program. I think they are members though. Sorry? I think I would categorise them as members, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. thank you very much for coming and explaining the whole concept of this new facility, which is amazing. Do you think that this club will increase your membership both for rugby and cricket, female and male? Having had young people go through Kensington Cricket Club and have witnessed the actual care, attention and coaching and team building exercise that is put into the development of those juniors, I suspect you will be inundated with new memberships for your club. Would you agree?
Yeah, we definitely struggle. Going back a step, we've grown the club over the last 4 or 5 years, the rugby club, it's between us and Brighton as to who's the largest club. So we sort of oscillate between from year to year. So we've done a great job in attracting people, but we are limited with our facilities. We're getting to the stage where we are getting close to having the worst facilities in South Australia. Adelaide Uni's pretty bad. They're probably the worst at the moment. And North Torrens down at Dry Creek as well. And it is affecting. It is, you know, you speak to some of the parents, they're turning up with 6, 7, 8-year-olds. They walk into a change room, they walk straight in and there's just showers looking straight at them. They're in the change rooms and getting changed, and men are coming in to kick them out of the change rooms because it's their turn to get changed because they're taking too long. In your change rooms out the back, there's one toilet for each change room. And it just gets overused, and the facilities are terrible, especially from people with a disability and young mothers. We are trying to promote ourselves as a family club. One thing we did 5 years ago when COVID hit, a lot of families were struggling. We actually lowered all of our membership, so our membership now is lower than it was 6 years ago. We don't see our members as we're disciplined. You would have seen from our accounts that we do run at a surplus because it's important that we're fiscally responsible. But we're trying to just attract people to the club as a way to. We don't have the elite pathways cricket does. We're very much community, and the female participation is important for us because it's a real struggle. Because at the moment there's no dedicated female competition, so we're trying to. Help as best we can, and we just can't when girls are getting changed in the public toilets out the back. I mean, they've just played a game where they've been smashed against boys who are 30 kilos heavier than them, and we expect them to get changed in the toilets out the back. It can't happen. It's terrible.
Councillor Henschke.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I have a question. Thank you all. The South Australian Cricket Association has released its strategy for the next 10 years about infrastructure pillars. Yep. I'd like to understand how this project aligns with those infrastructure pillars of partnerships, shared investment, facilities, etc., venue capacity, etc. You're probably very familiar with these. Thank you for your enlightenment.
Thank you for your question. Not perfectly familiar with the SACA strategic plan. So as part of this program and project, we have been able to obtain funding from the SACA Association and the Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund to upgrade the grounds that sit around the facility. So I think you will have seen, and we discussed last Tuesday, it's above 100,000. I think it's around 120,000 to upgrade the grass that sits in the centre of the pitches, as well as that on Colonel Waite Oval, which is the top oval. SACA have a huge amount of, they place a huge importance on the project, and this delivery is, as Kensington Gardens facility is the worst in the state from a Premier Cricket and from a cricket pathways perspective by a really large margin. So our competition have grounds such as Gliderol, like they're effectively SANFL football grounds, really high quality facilities that see a huge amount of investment year after year. We don't have a similar ground, but we do have a beautiful precinct in which we can develop on top of and create a similar atmosphere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Zing.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, team, for coming in today as well. I've just been reading through your report that's been attached to our presentation tonight. In H, it says that a project risk register has not yet been developed, but then in the discussion it says 8.3 million has been identified as a serious key risk for this project. I'm just thinking about the cost blowout for a second time. Will there be a backup plan if the costs do exceed that 8.3 budget as it's been identified as a key risk?
Sure. Look, that report I think is dated back in December, and since then there has been more development on project risks. What I can say is that the current cost plan that forms part of this budget has 5% design development contingency, 10% construction contingency. This is benchmarked on industry standards, and it will allow for a range of procurement options and risk profiles to be adopted, which we intend to jointly agree with Burnside Council through the design development process. Furthermore, since that report was drafted, we have carried out some further site investigations at the cost of the clubs, including for fire, SA water upgrades and power upgrades. And we know what scope of works are required to meet the requirements of those authorities, and that's also built into the project budget. So at this point in time, for the stage that the project's at, there is minimal risk attached to it.
I'm going to say thank you very much for all of you for coming in and answering a lot of questions. You're very welcome to stay because the item that you're interested in is the first one on the agenda. So thank you again for coming in, and if you'd like to take your seats back there and just turn that mic off before you go, that'd be great. And then I will go through the reports and seek those who wish to withdraw them. First of all, 11.1, Kensington Gardens Reserve, and remind, yes, Councillor Harvey. 11.2, Access and Inclusion Stakeholder Panel. Right, there's no one here, so can I have a mover? Councillor Cornish, moved Councillor Cornish. Yep. Seconded Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Blue Gum Health in Kensington Park Reserve, Councillor Davey. Marrickville Precinct Master Plan. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw?
Thank you.
Finance End of Month Report. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish moved. Seconded Councillor Turnbull. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Mayor's Activity Report. Seek a Councillor Henschke, you wish to withdraw it?
No, move.
You're
Thank
moving
you,
it?
Mayor.
Councillor Davey, you're seconding it? No, I was going to move. I was going to withdraw it. Councillor Davey wishes to withdraw it.
I wish to move
Decision, please. We did have a mover. We did have a mover, so I'd need a seconder. We already had a mover. So, seconder, Councillor Henschke? No, sorry, you were second. You moved it. No seconder? It lapses then. So we now Councillor David wishes to withdraw it.
I just pressed my button.
Okay, so you seconded it, Councillor Harvey. Okay, so I'll put the motion. I think there's confusion in the room. Councillor Cornish is looking very confused.
Are we withdrawing or we're not withdrawing? Why don't we let Jane withdraw it? Because otherwise we'll just have a rescission motion.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be debating it next.
Yes, all right. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw it? I'd like to speak to it anyway, when the time comes anyway. To give you the history. Chief Executive Officer's Report. Councillor, I haven't anyone at Cornish, you're moving it?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Zing. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, so those are done. We go back now to 11.1, Kensington Gardens Reserve Club Room Redevelopment. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Wilkins, you need to turn your microphone off because
Sorry.
Councillor Harvey has moved. You may wish to second, I don't know, but we'll just get through this first.
He's seconding.
It's okay. You just do your moving and then I'll see the second. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to acknowledge and thank all who have worked incredibly hard on this Kensington Cricket and Burnside Rugby Club room redevelopment in Kensington Gardens Reserve. This includes administration, former councillors, MPs, the former Liberal state and federal governments, and of course the Kensington Cricket and Burnside Rugby Clubs for securing an incredible 68.3% of the total cost of this funding. This is unprecedented, and no other club has secured this amount of funding from the state and federal government. I say well done you. We will never get a deal like this again, and we will never perhaps fund another building of this magnitude. With this unbelievable amount of funding, Council only needs to contribute the remaining 31.7%. Any club would be completely envious of this incredible achievement. We had the presentation given to us last week by the management and architects and of Kensington Cricket and Burnside Rugby Clubs, which was excellent. They showed that they are prepared to listen and be accommodating in their and our way forward. They stated they have done everything to keep costs to a minimum, and we know building costs across the board have increased significantly, and that is a given, and to delay this project could mean losing this funding and jeopardising this redevelopment for our community. We know the Kensington Cricket Club has a very rich history of achievements in producing outstanding sportsmen and women, including the one and only Sir Donald Bradman. This significant history, alongside now the Burnside Rugby Club, making their inroads into their sport, needs to continue in this state-of-the-art new redevelopment in these premises. We need this redevelopment supported to secure the future of our sports people who will play here, and also to bring together our Burnside community to partake as spectators in this wonderful new development. It won't just be a sports club, but a hub for the whole community to gather and come to relax, watch a game with friends, family and their children, and enjoy a coffee, wine or beer with old friends and making new friends. It will be a place for not only sport, but birthdays, anniversaries or perhaps business meetings. What better location than the famous grounds of Kensington Gardens Reserve amongst the stunning open green space? Administration and the architects have provided all the details. Let's see the amazing positives the future will bring. Let's get on board and support this incredible opportunity. We have the 68.3% state and federal government funding from the Liberal government. Let's show now that this funding provided by that government will be money absolutely well spent and an investment for all in our community. Let's please get this done for our community. Thank you.
Now I seek a seconder. Councillor Wilkins, do you wish to second?
I reserve my right.
All right. Now, Councillor Hallett, you wish to speak?
I was going to second.
Okay, somebody else beat you to it. So, do you wish to speak now or not? You've lost your chance now. Councillor Davey wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a slight amendment to the motion, and that is a new 5, with 5 becoming 6 and consequentially, and that is that a new 5, council being provided the opportunity to be involved in the final design.
Which is 3.29 project.
It takes them ages to get it through. And then I'll speak once that's up. Is there a problem getting this up on the screen?
It's not a problem, we're just checking about whether it's an amendment or just a
Variation?
variation.
Oh. But if we could have it up so we could all see it in consequence, I'd be grateful.
You haven't sent anything through yet?
No, I didn't have a chance. We still should be able to amend motions.
It's okay as a variation. Right, so if you'd like to say what you would like to add again, and then if the mover approves and the seconder approves, we don't have to make any changes.
Thank you. I'm just adding what is on page, it's taken out of the previous motion that we moved back in several years ago. Council being a new 5. I just want to read it so that it's all in sequence. That council is provided the opportunity to be involved in the final design. So this is a new 5. 5 becomes 6 and 6 becomes 7.
Yes, it is.
That's right. 8. I've been thrown because I can't see it on the screen.
Okay with that?
Yes.
So I'll just speak to that then while we're processing it. So thank you to everybody who's worked to bring this to us. It's a long overdue process and project, and we're all dying to see the club rooms upgraded for our sporting clubs and our community. However, I am concerned, as I've said previously, about the environmental situation, and I think the building design is somewhat monolithic and could be less intrusive in the beautiful location. So, as I said at the workshop, I'd like to see softer lines and less concrete. There's been agreed that there will be no trees lost and that we'll build around them, and I think it will be crucial that we have a good design to be able to put out to our community, because they're watching like a hawk to be able to see what becomes of this club rooms in their beautiful park. I recognise the significant increase in the cost, but we have no choice but to proceed with the extent of the state government and federal government funding already committed to this key facility. I don't think I need to say anything more. I'm pleased to see so much support given to the facilities for women and the consideration given to the equity issues, because the cricket and rugby players and the young ones coming along, it's crucial that we have the facilities for them, and they've been severely inconvenienced for so long. So I don't think we can risk the funding opportunity we've been promised, so I hope we're able to proceed and be involved as the project proceeds. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor. I know this redevelopment is greatly needed and would be great for the area, etc. But regarding it, I hold reservations about this being brought to council within such a short timeline. The workshop was only last week, and although we've known about this project for months, probably years, suddenly we're being asked to fund an extra council contribution added to what was allocated in the council resolution C12676 in September 2020. And this is the very time we're deferring many of our own committed projects, and we're agonising over the extent to which we have to raise our rates. Burnside Council is not actually a bottomless pit of money. The extra money will have to be borrowed, and our residents' rates will increase. Maybe not by much, but they will increase. And yes, some residents belong to the Kensington Gardens Reserve Cricket and Rugby Club, but many, many more don't. The earlier council commitment to this project was capped at $2 million, 25% of the total for the redevelopment. Now, without warning, we're being asked to commit almost an extra $1 million, 32% of the project's cost. and it seems that council's also being asked to contribute the increases since the original costing. The information provided today, and I thank the administration for the answers to my questions, hasn't really allayed my disquiet about such an extra commitment. Maybe modifications to the design should be considered so that it can stay within the allocated budget. I can't support this motion as it stands.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question for the administration, if I may. In September 2020, Council resolved C12676, and I won't read it all out, obviously, but the key thing in that resolution was fully supporting this, the project to secure government funding, but the focus had to be also to build community use of the facility beyond the needs of the incumbent clubs. All of that wording in that resolution, bits of it are in this resolution, but I'm not seeing perhaps that the strength of the focus to build community use of the facility beyond the needs of the incumbent clubs. How is it necessary to build that into this motion? I'm asking the administration, or is that implicit? Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, my read of this situation is that because Council had signalled its intent in that motion, and this motion certainly isn't seeking to cancel out that intent, that the intent still stands. So I'm fairly comfortable with that. Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
Oh, do you want me to turn mine off? Because
Yes. Councillor Hallett was at the top of the list, followed by Councillor Davey, Councillor Cornish. Followed by Councillor Dawes, Councillor Davey, Councillor Cornish. So if you would mind all turning yours off, and I'll go back so it goes to Councillor Hallett, then Councillor Dawes, then Councillor Cornish, and then Councillor... I've forgotten the fourth one.
Get back in the queue.
oh, get back in the queue.
Yeah.
Now,
No, I've got Councillor Hallett. Now you go second. Councillor Dawes. And then it's Councillor Cornish. And then it's Councillor Davies.
I don't need to be, because I was going to ask, see.
I thought you might have had a question to ask. All right, so Councillor Hallett, you go.
Thank you. There are 440 junior and senior female club members. The rugby club has mixed teams for training and games up until 14 years of age. Both clubs have significant and substantial history as well as performance at a premier and elite level. The design recognises and facilitates women's and juniors' participation in sport. Doorless showers and changing room facilities, communal shower drains and shared use male, female, junior, adult change rooms really is just not acceptable in this day and age. There is universal agreement that reconstruction is required as opposed to renovation, and that agreement is by the clubs, the administration and Galpins. The design is not gold-plated, it is fit for purpose and standards. It's unfair to say the clubs had not contributed financially to the cost of the project. All the funding, planning and project development costs have been met by the clubs, who also provided countless hours of voluntary professional expertise. It is also unfair to say the clubs have not maintained the current facility or have let it deteriorate. In 2023 alone, they spent $25,116 on building maintenance alone. In light of the former Liberal governments and current Labor government situation, if we don't make use of this funding now, we're unlikely to get it again for years. And in the meantime, the building remains unfit for purpose, deteriorating and falling into further repair. The clubs have delivered what we asked of them, and that's by the former council. They've delivered design-wise, community-wise, environmentally and funding-wise. As a local resident living opposite the park, I'm looking forward to using the Fit for Life facilities and enjoying a doggy catch-up with other local residents, sitting on the wide, shady and sheltered deck and just enjoying the beautiful park and its surroundings and my neighbours. This design delivers on community expectations. The state and federal governments have recognised cost increases in their provided grants, and so should council. The $900,000 extra will be considered as part of the next financial year budget, not this one. This extraordinary grant funding secured for the project also reflects an opportunity to deliver a project the whole of the community can be proud of and importantly use. The project is consistent with Council's strategic directions and policies, especially the disability access and inclusion. It will fail our community if we don't take advantage of the funding, as well as leave Council open to criticism and ridicule. We must decide tonight if we don't put the federal funding, we put the federal funding at significant risk. Kensington Garden Reserve is one of Burnside's premier parks with council-wide users as well as visitors and users from other council areas, interstate and overseas. The proposed design reflects that status. A tin shed, cheaper option is inappropriate for this location within the reserve and within the council area. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, first I want to acknowledge the preliminary work of Isabel Redmond and Peter McCusker. And from 2018 right through to today, they've done a tremendous amount of work, and I think that's been recognised. But I don't know if Isabel's name was mentioned, but I want to mention that as well. I also want to congratulate the clubs for deciding not to play on the ovals while the build has been undertaken. That's a big decision for you guys to make. I acknowledge that. As my fellow councillors are aware, my background is in sports development and sports facility management. I will support sports in Burnside as much as I can, and I have over the last 5 years while I've been on council. We've been elected to make these tough decisions based on what is best for the overall community, with the values of balance, fairness and financial responsibility being most relevant here. I'll say them again: balance, fairness and financial responsibility. From my memory, I can think of at least 5 other sporting clubs seeking council contributions in 25-26, as well as major projects with a strong community focus. In a time when all councils are considering large increases in rates next financial year, I strongly believe we can still make this Kensington Gardens development work. My experience tells me, and I'm hoping Tom can listen to this, that there are options for the 2 clubs to consider. In no priority order, don't change the scope. Whatever you do, don't change the scope, but reassess the priority of all the areas within the build. I'll give you a couple of examples, because we went through the same thing when I was in sports development. We had a $4 million project. We had to find $800,000 of savings. So, for instance, you still have change rooms 5 and 6, but you don't fit them out. Right? You can still use them as change rooms, but you have the plumbing and so forth, but you don't fit them out. Do you save the cafe for a later time? Should the furniture not be part of the build, but it's something for the clubs to raise money for? That's what we did with that particular facility about 5 years ago. So what I'm trying to say here, I would love to help you guys. I really would. I supported $2 million. We just can't afford another $910,000. So I'm just hoping that you guys can look at that again and say, you know, don't shake your head, look at it again and say, look, we can have the same build, and look, we may not be able to have the 6 change rooms, because that's a big lot of change rooms, but we can still use 5 and 6, and you can still close the door and you can still get changed in there. But until you guys can find some further funding, I don't think you should call upon council to make up the difference. But that's my view.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Dawes started with pretty much what I was going to say, and thank you very much. Absolutely, thank you. You might not know my background, but I was in charge of grants at the Office for Recreation, Sport and Racing for 20 years. I've got to say that a club receiving this sort of level of funding and investment as a club is very unheard of. It is a lot of money that you have raised, and it should not go unacknowledged. So thank you for that. This is a council facility, a $9 million facility, that if you didn't raise that, the ratepayers of the City of Burnside will have to find $9 million. I don't think we'd want that. I really don't think we'd want that. But the alternative is we have to replace the building. If we don't do it now, for less than $3 million, and you guys have raised this huge swag of cash. So thank you for that. I do think you need the 6 change rooms. There are 3 ovals there, 2 teams per oval. It's quite clear that you need the 6 change rooms. Glenunga Hub, which we did back in a while, which not one club gave 1 cent to, and this council managed the entire project and funded the entire project there. And they put in 4 change rooms. 2 change rooms too less because they're completely bursting at the seams down there. So very clever to actually design the change rooms that you actually need. I think this is an amazing accomplishment. For the extra $910,000, yes, everything has gone up. We've seen, as I put out recently, that the Paynham swimming pool's gone from a $20 million build to a $60 million build. Costs have gone up all over the place. And for this council to not have to fork out $9 million for a facility and only fork out $2.9 million and get a $9 million facility, on its asset register, I think is amazing. And thank you so, so much for doing that and supplying these important services to our community. Strength for Life classes in the gym, the 6 change rooms for all the girls and boys and men and women of the City of Burnside, and more broadly, because we know sport can't be played around boundaries of local government areas. So I think you've done an amazing job here, and I will be supporting this motion. Thanks.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you very much for your presentations over the last week or so. This has been, a lot of clubs will be watching on YouTube this evening and going, wow, these guys have done their work. 5, 6 years this has taken. You have reached out to the 3 tiers of government, federal, state and local council, and this looks really handsome. I tip my hat to you guys. You've done well. I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I'll speak just to make up the numbers. Look, I voted for the $2 million in the last council because I thought, you guys getting $6 million out of 8 was a pretty good deal. I got to tell you, it's really flipping irritating to be told last week you need another $900,000. Oh, and by the way, you need to decide by the end of March, because we're going to have to put rates up by 0.67% to pay for this facility, which is not a negligible amount. And if you told us earlier, we could have gone out to people and said, well, what do you think? Do you think that maybe the club could have the occasional sausage sizzle over the past 6 years to raise some money, the occasional raffle, the occasional fundraising event? Because I look at Old Collegians, which is in my ward. We didn't give them all the money for their development. They borrowed the money. And they are fundraising to pay for their building. I look at Beaumont Tennis Club. They raised $200,000 out of a pretty small membership to pay for their redevelopment. I look at Glenunga Tennis Club. They raised money. So it is a bit annoying that people just say, oh, because we managed through our political contacts to get all this money, that's it, we don't have to do anything else, because 95% of Burnside residents are never going to use this facility. And that's my key sticking point, that if you'd met us at least part way and said, oh, look, we'll do a bit of fundraising, and hey, council, maybe if you could make it $2.5 million, meet us part way. But it's just, you put a gun to my head, and I find that irritating, and that's why I'm not supporting it.
I have a blank screen. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Wilkins, you don't want to miss out like you did once before.
No, but do you want me to sum up now?
You weren't the mover, you're just going to speak to second the motion.
Oh, good. I will speak now, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cornish. I was just immediately thinking of my local hat at Glenunga Football Club, the donations in kind and the barbecues that we have each week at football all contribute. And we do have a club room, as Councillor Cornish said, is 2 change rooms short, and we have exploded with junior female players. But this is going to happen at Kensington, I believe, after this construction happens. And I think your club effort has been amazing. And I believe this is an opportunity that can't be missed. To have investment in as an intangible asset in a beautiful building, which will be not only a sporting club, and it will be a community facility as well, but more importantly, I believe it's the intangible investment in sport and team building for junior and senior players, not only in our council area, but they will come from all over the place to play sport for Kensington Cricket Club. Just as Don Bradman did, he came from New South Wales to South Australia to play with Kensington Cricket Club, and that attracted my grandson to play for Kensington as a junior. There will be others playing for rugby as well. So this will be an amazing community facility, and I do support it because I don't believe we can pass up this opportunity of external funding as well, to the tune of 68% investment. But I do take Councillor Dawes' suggestions on board, because we don't all have to pay for all the internals. There could be some fundraising to cover those issues, but to get the building up in place as an example of what can be done in this premier park in Burnside, I think is critical for all of us to invest in. So thank you very much. I do support this.
Unless anyone else wishes to speak, I am going to go back to Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for your input. This building is 60 years old and well overdue for a facelift. This invaluable redevelopment is for the benefit of all of Burnside residents, not just those living in the Kensington Gardens McGill ward, as has been stated. It is for all our community to share, to love and to enjoy. We have the support with federal and state government funding, which has never been achieved before. This is an investment for generations to come and enjoy. This comes out of next year's budget, not this year's budget. How much money does a sausage sizzle bring in compared to $6.27 million? And once again, I congratulate the people that have come here tonight to inform us even further just how important this is to our community. It was mentioned by them that it is a requirement now for 6 change rooms to be spread across men and women change rooms. We cannot look a gift horse in the mouth. As I said, we've got the support with the funding. It's not going to happen again. I hope you will support this wonderful opportunity for the whole city of Burnside. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried and division has been called. So you've just got to hold your hands up, those who voted in favour. So we go around the room. Councillor Henschke, Cornish, Harvey, Hallett, Jennings, Wilkins, Davey and Zing. So did you get those? And those against, councillors Turnbull, Dawes and Jones. Did you get them all down? Sorry, I can't see you on the screen, so should be all right. Right. And I thank you all for your support and all for your attention and for the debate. It took a while to get there, but it was valuable having you here to answer all the questions earlier tonight. So thank you for your attendance and good luck with it. Okay, now we move to 11.3, Councillor Davey, Blue Gum Health in Kensington Park Reserve.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an alternate recommendation.
If you wait just a minute, Councillor Davey, if you could wait a few minutes or a minute or two just till they get it up before you start speaking, otherwise you'll start speaking without it being up there first, okay?
I've sent an amended one through. Thank you. Could I have a staff member read the motion, please?
I think you need to read it, Councillor Davey, because it's your motion,
It takes up
your
part of
changes.
my time, so I'd like a staff member to read it. Thanks.
All right.
Um,
Want me to read it?
Madam,
I can read it.
no, Madam Mayor, just reading off the screen.
All right.
That council, 1, notes the ongoing work to identify the cause of the health issues with SA Blue Gums at Kensington Park Reserve. 2, notes that issues with tree health are also evident in the northeast section of Hazelwood Park, item 13.2 in this agenda. 3, allocates an additional amount of up to $20,000, if required, within the current operational budget to obtain additional expertise to investigate and determine management options for the Indigenous trees at both locations. 4, consults with the following experts to determine if they can assist in identifying the cause of the tree decline. A, David Hubbard, Manager Plant Biosecurity Operations, PIRSA. B, Dr. Greg Moore, Senior Lecturer Plant Science, University of Melbourne. And C, Cameron Ryder, Arboricultural and Environment Consultants. 5, if the cause is not determined by these experts, seek further advice from Green Adelaide, South Australian Research and Development Institute, SARDI, and research institutions. 6, receives regular updates through CEO reports each quarter until the issues are resolved.
Thank you. Thank you for that help. As you might have realised from the photos, and not recent photos, but if you have visited the Kensington Park Reserve, we've sadly seen no solution to this problem of tree deaths, which are now up to 14. And so after a year, I'm concerned, as is the local community, that we've not been able to identify the cause of their demise. Locals are very keen to have the dead trees removed and replaced. They're causing a lot of distress in the community. Plus, we need a resolution because we're going into the tree planting season, which offers only a small window of opportunity for new trees to be planted. Conjoined with this, and part of this motion is you would have noticed my motion on notice about some tree deaths in Hazelwood Park as well. So it's been the suggestion of the administration, which I think is a good one, to if we can deal with it in one motion so that we get the tree advisors and the expertise here to look at the Kensington Park Oval situation, use all their expertise and scientific knowledge and resources to have another look at that one and have a look at the Hazelwood Park area as well. It would just be wonderful for us to be able to identify what's causing these deaths. It definitely isn't, for those who've contributed, it's not possums who died. For those who remember it's not possums who caused the tree deaths, because they were quite sudden and the whole tree died at once. It wasn't due to nibbling of the canopy or a great onslaught of animals eating the tree out. It's actually sudden, very obvious death of the trees, which is what's worried the locals and the park users. I don't know also if there's been mechanical damage following excavation work associated with, in Kensington Park, there was a lot of digging and excavating associated with the installation of a barbecue and all the associated utilities. In Hazelwood Park, the deaths have followed the upgrade of the driveway adjacent to the Wombat Waterhole play space a couple of years ago, or we don't know whether it's a toxin or a bug that's causing damage. So either following work around the site, or there's just lots of imponderables. And I think we're at the stage now where we've got arborist advice, we've taken samples, we don't know if it's fungal, or we've generally excluded that, I believe. So we really need the expertise that we can get from these really high-level institutions with all their resources to consult those people and their organisations and find out the best, most up-to-date information. And I don't think it's any different really, this small investment, to the considerable investment we make for legal advice. If we don't have the expertise, we have to bring it in. So hopefully you'll support this so we can identify the cause of these problems and make sure they don't spread. We can get the trees removed and we can replant and get some remediation underway. So hopefully you'll support this motion.
Councillor Zing, are you seconding?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Happy to second. Also just had a question as well. Last year, I remember, I think Mr. Kant sent the samples off the Wake campus at Adelaide Uni. Did we get any feedback from Adelaide Uni Wake campus at all?
Through Madam Mayor, excuse me, through Madam Mayor, I'll refer that to Mr. Kant.
Through your worship, we did request Wait to come and assist us with this time, but unfortunately they were unable to assist at that stage. So we sent it off once again to Sydney, which is covered within the report.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Councillor Zing, did you wish to speak as a seconder? Sorry, now we've got Councillor Henschke up now.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a question for the administration. These recommended experts here, I'm not across them, but I mean, you know, quick Google and you find that the University of South Australia is doing a whole lot of work about gum trees and research. Why these experts? Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, I believe the reason why Councillor Davey is seeking to move these experts is we're struggling to gain answers for our existing panel of experts. So we're broadening our field to hopefully garner the expertise of these people to assist us.
And these are, sorry, can I have a supplementary question? And these are experts that the administration have identified interstate?
Through Madam Mayor, yes, certainly Mr. Kant's been working with Councillor Davey to put this list of names together.
Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
I'm in support of the motion as it stands now, but I do think that we should be also reaching out to other councils to see whether this problem is happening elsewhere. So that could just be something that we follow up internally through our administration.
Through Madam Mayor, I can answer that one right now actually. I'm aware that our head arborist has been talking to his fellow arborists and other councils, and unfortunately have been coming up with blanks. So they have made that approach.
Councillor Jones.
Oh, look, we're spending money outside the budget process again. The officer's recommendation was a sensible one, that we continue to handle this in-house. Look, trees sometimes die. Just plant some new ones. So for the rest of my 3 minutes, I'm going to say no. No, 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 no. I'm just fed up. It's a no from me.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for administration, please. Will these trees eventually be replaced with mature trees? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The first step obviously is to understand why we've had the degradation in this area, and certainly once we have confirmed the reason for that, we will replace them as part of our planting program. If council was of a mind to replace them with a more mature tree, we would probably have to make specific allocation. That's because I think an existing tree costs us about $250 odd. But if we start talking about a substantial maturity, you can come to many thousands of dollars. So at that point, we would have to come back to council for some further funding.
Councillor Will.
Thank you, Your Worship. If the trees are dead and they're dying, get rid of them. Get your soil sample done. You're obviously getting more soil samples done. I would say do a mix of exotics. Don't be just completely planting gums all the time. I'm over them. And in fact, I gave Mr. Cant a digger's magazine with various varieties of other trees which give you greater, cooler temperatures underneath their canopy. I actually have heard Dr. Greg Moore at a lecture in Melbourne at an Australian Garden History Conference. He is indeed excellent, and he does come to Adelaide. He has been here for TreeNet conference, I think, last year. I heard him on ABC radio. He is indeed an expert in this area, and I think you should be actually consulting with Waite. The former director at Waite is a resident in the Burnside area, and she has specific expertise in trees. So there are people who could actually do some more soil sampling in this area. And I would suggest we look wider than just replanting with more gums, quite frankly, whose limbs drop, as we've just witnessed elsewhere in the community. So go for a bit of variety, folks, and get the soil sampled and put some fertiliser and some water on the trees and look after them so they do have an opportunity to grow. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I have to say I do understand Councillor Jones's concern. However, at 7:55 p.m. on Monday, we received an email from Mr. Cant, which says that he will hope that this extra cost will be covered through existing budgets. However, a budget quarterly review may be required should they be extensive. So that's why I'm happy to support it, because we've got the words "if required" in the motion. I'm hoping that, from what Mr. Cant has told us, that there will be no costs involved. But I do understand Dr. No over there, and I was upset with the last debate, but I'm not so upset by this one because we have got a contingency in there. Thank you.
Councillor Zing, do you wish to speak as a seconder? All right, then I shall go back to Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your input. The expertise has been recommended by the administration. I'm not an expert in this area. PIRSA is the state government authority. I think we should also, as Councillor Wilkins has said, be dealing with the authorities at Waite, and I believe there is some tree expertise there, so hopefully that can be utilised too. Dr Greg Moore is certainly a preeminent authority on Indigenous trees. He's based at the University of Melbourne. He is also a member of TreeNet, practically runs it, I believe, is a member of the National Trust of Victoria, and has received an OAM for services to the environment, particularly arboriculture. And he is on a board, a local board, as part of the Green Adelaide group. So the state government use him for his expertise as well, and our local environment. So we need to explore this further. We need to get some further information about what's causing the decline and demise of these trees. People are talking about, yes, trees for dropping limbs. Well, the locals don't like these dead trees just sitting there in the park. And so the staff have said they don't want to, they're not inclined to remove them until they know the cause, which the advice I accept, but we've got to do our absolute utmost to find the cause. If it means making a bit of an investment in expertise, fine. It can be taken out of current budget savings, even finer. We do have to know what's going on. And I would like to see, once we've got a resolution and a cause, some advanced trees planted so that we can regenerate the areas where they've been lost from. But that's a decision for down the track. At the moment, it's just finding the cause, making a bit of an investment in expertise, and helping the staff to deal with this quandary, which it isn't a good reflection on these corners of our parks, highly regarded iconic parks. So hopefully you'll support this. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. I'm going to suggest we have a 10-minute break right now, and we get back on time, please.
Could I just interrupt to say I will then withdraw my motion on notice further down, because
All right.
that's been addressed by this
Thank
one
you.
as well.
Okay, and you're all okay to have a 10-minute break now?
And
then?
I'm happy to move, yes.
Yep. All right, thank you.
I think we should have some variety
Yes.
planting in there.
But
And
these-
the latest
these are
Diggers
the last
magazine showed examples in Melbourne parks where there is lower temperature under trees with greater
And we've got
canopy.
fire safety, but that's a separate debate. I agree with you. There's our
Here's an
alternatives.
opportunity to do a demonstration.
Right, we're ready to start again. And 11.4, page 111, Councillor Davey.
Oh, Marrickville.
Yeah, Matthew, 11-4.
Very important. Thank you, Mayor. This is very straightforward. The Council endorses the draft concept master plan for the purposes that the draft concept Marrickville Precinct Master Plan. We have that added to the motion, please, for the purpose of community consultation. Thank you to the staff, the administration, for a terrific report. This whole project has been developed to this stage with a lot of work in conjunction with the Norwood, Payneham and St Peters Council. It says it all really in terms of the issues that need to be addressed. The aims are to improve this whole precinct for both the traffic, major traffic issues, in particular in the location with the interface with cyclists, motorists, the huge numbers of school children that go through the area each day. We want everything to be safer for our older pedestrians. We want it to be an improved business precinct to just improve access for all those little shops, make it all a lot safer and more attractive, and just facilitate a much easier way of travelling and living for the community. Being shared between both councils, it's great to get it to this stage where we can consult with the community. The only problem I have is that the consultation time might impact on the school holidays. So I don't know if that's, that can be looked at and reconsidered. The school holidays are from 12th of April to the 29th of April. And I think we're talking about community consultation from the 8th of April to the end of the month. So I don't know if that's appropriate, but I can't say any more. I think it's all in the report. It's a great report, and I think it'll be really great to see what the community feedback is. Hopefully you'll support it. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, if I can just make a quick comment. Certainly happy to amend that proposed timeline to avoid school holidays to maximise people's focus and attention on the article. Thanks.
Seek a seconder. Councillor Henschke, you willing to second it? Do you wish to speak now?
No, thank you.
All right, Councillor, can you turn your mic off then, please? Councillor Dawes, you wish to speak?
Yes, just a couple of comments that, as Councillor Davey and Councillor Zing and also Councillor Harvey and Haddock know, that when we are looking at this Marrickville precinct plan, it will affect roads going up, right? And as you know, with peak hour, you go all the way down to Tasmania Avenue. There's it's just this total blockage. So what we've asked administration to look at in the future, not as part of this precinct plan, but a right-hand turn at the Kingston Road, Glenburn Road intersection. There is sufficient room there, and it's been looked at by administration. But what I'm worried about is that because with the Marrickville precinct, we are narrowing the access from the west, and therefore when it goes through Marrickville, there's going to be a lot of traffic thereafter. So we're going to have cars turning right, and there are so many cars turning right at Kingston Road into Glenburn Road, it's going to be only one-way traffic all the way up. And there's been a lot of congestion because of that. So I'm in favour of the Marrickville plan, but I think we're going to look at the repercussions of that for the intersections around. And one of those is the Kingston Road Glenburn Road intersection. So I'm hoping that Aaron's got that down on his list. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I've got a question, if I may. Will the community consultation include indicative costings, and will we ask the community how they would like to pay for this?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll just refer that to Mr. Cant.
Through your worship, not at this stage. We're at a high-level concept plan at this stage. We haven't done detailed costings. It's to get a good understanding. You'll recall that we consulted with our community both in Norwood and Burnside at the start of this process. We've listened to what the community have had to say to develop this high-level concept plan. This, in essence, is going back to the community to say, have we captured what you've told us you wanted to see? If that's the case, we'll bring it back to council, and at that stage, we will then do a cost management exercise.
Councillor Hallett.
Thank you. I've got a question, and that's that I thought that we agreed that the precinct zone was going to stretch down to Portrush. And later on in the report, it actually talks about that, but it's still saying here that it finishes earlier, it finishes at Marrickville. So to me, it really makes sense to actually take it down to Portrush. And I thought when we had the workshop, we actually did talk about taking it to Portrush. And I noticed that the state MP for the area has actually suggested that 40 zones for from the corner of Portrush up past the two schools, Loretto and Marrickville. So that would actually extend the 40 zone, picking up what Councillor Dawes was talking about. That will extend it right up to May Terrace. So you have to sort of think about, well, that's an arterial road, if I'm correct, and so we're going to have a 40 zone from Portrush right up past May Terrace. Well, if
Next person to speak. I have no one on the screen.
Well, hang on. I asked a question.
No. Well, it kind of it wandered into making a statement. I'll give you another chance to speak, say something else if you've got anything to add then. But it might have started as a question, but you actually went into a discussion. Sorry.
Through Madam Mayor, certainly happy to clarify that question. The master plan was always focused on the precinct. There was never any intention to go as far down as Portrush. So I'm sorry if there's a confusion there, but it certainly was never intended to go that far. With regard to the 40-kilometre concept, it's obviously not dealt with here at the minute, but that's potentially a project that we could look at in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Just have a question in regards to the consultation itself. Given City of Burnside's leading the project, but it's a joint project, whose system are we using? Are we using Engage.Burnside, or what system are we using? Are we going someone else to actually do the engagement and collect the details and results?
Through Madam Mayor, if I can refer that to Mr. Cant.
Through your worship, as we're dealing with two very different councils, we do have different systems, but we will use our own systems. So we will use Engage.Burnside and our usual channels, and Norwood will do the same. We are taking the lead on collating on behalf of both councils though, so we will bring it all together.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Look, I'd love to do this, but I cannot endorse a master plan when I don't know how much it's going to cost. And the community doesn't know how much it's going to cost. We're in fantasy council land here, where we just, we keep wanting to do all these lovely projects, but we've got no idea what they cost. We've got no idea how we're going to fund them. If you put it to people, they'll say, yeah, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And we'll raise their expectations we're going to do this stuff, and then we're going to get a bill like the McGill Village, which I think before government grants was $11 million. And people are going to say, not so keen on that. I mean, this is how you get to $60 million swimming pools. It's just crazy. We've got to inject some sanity into our deliberations and spending. So, regrettably, I can't support it.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Henschke, you're going to second and speak
Yes.
now, or a question?
Yes, I'll speak now. Thank you. Just very briefly. So, I mean, a great benefit, and administration can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about safety will be improved by the creation of a precinct atmosphere, because at the moment we have a pretty heavily used arterial with a lot of pedestrians, a lot of vehicles coming, going, stopping, going to the sushi shop, all that stuff, post offices, etc. There's a lot going on there. So I could see that the CEO was nodding, so I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Kensington Road did have an accident happen 2 weeks ago, right opposite between the hotel and the dry cleaners, and the road was closed for more than an hour, in both directions, because someone was knocked over. Not crossing on the crossing, over the road. Anyone else wish to speak? Otherwise, I'm going back to Councillor Davey. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't add too much more. Thank you, everyone, for your contribution. This is a high-level strategic concept plan. It is part of our bailiwick for us to plan for the future, and master planning does that. I mean, we all recognise that. We are getting increasing volumes, and we haven't seen the latest statistics of traffic. The volumes of traffic, just vehicle traffic going up and down that road, is just horrendous. The bus traffic, we've got cyclists, and we've got huge numbers of school children using that, all converging through that area from up Tasmore Avenue going down to Pembroke, from Marrittville going to and from Marrittville. There's feeding into Loretto, there's feeding into St Peter's Girls, so there's just a huge volume of people traffic, plus our age population. It's a real centre for a lot of pedestrian age people. We also have through this runners and all sorts of people exercising. So the crossings are a nightmare, and as are incidents when people don't use the crossings, but you don't know if that's because there is a difficulty using the crossings. We have impacts further up Kensington Road at the other intersections, which Councillor Dawes has alluded to. So I think we've just got to proceed with this, see what our community wants, get their feedback and review that. And of course, costs will come up from time to time for us to consider, and whether we progress issues. So we're not deciding on a whole $1 billion plan at the moment. It's just a concept, and we just want our community, allied to the Norwood, Payneham and St Peter's community in partnership, to give us some more feedback at this stage. So hopefully you'll support this. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now we move to item 11.6, page 146, Councillor.
Mayor. I want to declare a conflict of interest.
Oh, sorry, yes. Apologies.
Yes, so I want to declare a general conflict of interest for this particular subject, mainly in relation to the hockey club. An immediate member of my family is a manager of one of the lower grade women's teams. That person is not on the committee and is not a person of influence on the club. So I'll be staying for the debate and I will be voting on the debate.
Now, Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I might be able to help you because I'm moving just part one, that this report presents the Mayor's activities for the period 1st of February to 29th of February 2024 for the information of council members. I don't actually believe that we should be endorsing the hockey club because I don't think this is the appropriate way to do it. I don't think we should be lobbied about it in this way. It was totally out of the blue. We didn't have a motion or notice with lots of information. While the name, we have a Burnside Hockey Club in name because it was registered in 2002, as Councillor Cornish has informed us, it has little or no association with Burnside. And as we all know, it relinquished its grounds and its club rooms approximately 20 years ago. I think Campbelltown Council may wish to provide for them, but this doesn't have anything to do with us, nor should we be lobbying the government for a not very likely proposed development for a group who has relocated and isn't part of Burnside. So this is my motion that I think we should just accept the Mayor's report and not comment on Burnside Hockey Club. Thank you.
Seconder, please. Councillor Turnbull. What you're voting on is to exclude writing to the Campbelltown City Council, in spite of the fact that we've already had some conversations and discussions with them through ERA. Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. While I do support this motion, because it's obviously receiving your report, I also support us advocating to retain open space that potentially could be sold. It's currently open space. It's a lovely park that has got some tennis courts on it already. I don't know what they're going to do across the road either with that oval and the pool and everything that's there. But I certainly think that we should be advocating and teaming up with our fellow councils to try and save nice big pockets of current infrastructure that could be used for the community. Certain clubs like this and like the one we've just approved are going to be a lot more regional these days. People drive to clubs, and Burnside Hockey Club, we're not going to find them a spot here. We've made that very clear over the last 10 years or 13 years that they've been engaging this council to try and find a new location. I would be supportive of it, and I'm happy to bring a motion on notice back if that's what it's going to require for us to actually support the retention of open space in a fellow council's area. And it might not end up being used for the hockey club, but they're trying, saying, please don't sell it. I will also just correct one thing, Councillor Davey, with that date, the registration date. Unfortunately, the 2002 date is the date when the system was created to record them. So it could quite possibly be that the club was actually incorporated in 19 or 1874, I don't know when, but that was the date. If it's got a generic 2002 date, it means that it was actually, they don't have the actual record on file to enter it in easily into that system, so it was a generic date. So they were definitely incorporated well before that, and have been part of the community for a lot longer. So I personally think that it's a very good thing, even if it was the City of Unley coming to us because someone wanted to, take over an oval or sell an oval over there. I would be very happy to actually go and support them and say, hey, we should approach the state government and say, please don't sell this land for development. We did it with Glenside. We asked them not to sell it, but hey, they won. Perhaps if we had a few more councils on our side promoting and saying, please don't sell the open space would still be around. So I definitely, I think it should be incorporated to retain open space, and I think it's a great idea for us to support fellow councils in trying to retain that open space. So while I support the motion as it stands because it's receiving a report, I'm also very happy to have the additional item 2 in there, and as I said, if it doesn't get up, I'm happy to move a motion on notice for next meeting.
Just a quick comment, Madam Mayor, just to advise the council that some time ago I wrote a very broad letter to the state government asking that we be included as a stakeholder on any future development of that site. It was just a generic letter, not talking about the hockey club at all, but I just want to make you aware of that I have made an approach to this estate in general terms.
And can I just add that prior to the last election, all the era councils banded together and had a number of meetings about how we were going to talk to the different leading political parties about what we wanted. And the first item that we discussed and affirmed amongst all of the 5 councils was the need for more open space. And we agreed at that time that we would support each other in any opportunity and any opportunity that there arose, whether it be the opening of more school ovals or the sale of land, that we would cooperate with each other. This motion is not asking, the original motion, was not asking for us to submit funding or to do anything like that. It was just to collaborate officially with Campbelltown Council, who lost their hockey club prior to Burnside Hockey Club because for the same reason. Their hockey club used to be where the soccer pitch is in Campbelltown. Now, Campbelltown might not even decide that they want to have a hockey pitch if they were lucky enough to get the land sold to them, because it would all be in the hands of the Campbelltown Council to make the decision, not us. They have just asked, the club has asked us to make a bid, just to support them in their bid to Campbelltown. That's all. Councillor Hallett.
While I support Councillor Davies' motion, I also I don't agree with deleting item 2, recommendation 2. I think it's really important that we do whatever we can to preserve that land as open space. We need it as open space. It's important. Yes, it's not in our council area. It's right on our border, and it offers a lot of opportunities. And so I can't support the motion that's not saying to write a support letter supporting the hockey club's position.
Madam Mayor, I think I just need to get clarification from our governance team about how we can possibly deal with the 2 parts. So this, in the way it's been handled at the minute. So, Mr. Spearman, can you just clarify for us the process?
Through the Mayor, if Council so wishes, they could move the part 2 as a separate motion.
If this goes down, that's what's the usual. I'm making a point.
Sorry, Councillor Hallett, did you hear that response?
I have a question.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, you don't have that option right now because we're considering this one that's on the screen, to be very clear. But I'm just trying to be clear with Council that, for example, if this was successful, Council would have the opportunity to move as a separate motion, part 2, if they choose.
Tonight?
No.
Tonight.
Okay.
Let me ask a question.
Did you just vote on this?
Yeah. I have a question, some clarification.
Don't worry.
Could I ask a question, please?
Councillor Davey. Councillor Davey was next on the list. Now, we've got totally
Yep, I'm next. No? Okay.
I have two questions on issues that have been raised, and I'm very interested to hear that this is being considered by ERA. My question is this on the agenda for the Eastern Regional Alliance, which would be perfectly reasonable, as the Mayor has said? I haven't seen any reports or documentation on that. And also, did we receive a copy of that letter that you sent? Because I don't recall seeing that. So if we could have that information. Because I don't dispute acquiring open space and maintaining open space by any means. But this is a separate issue.
Yeah, certainly. Madam Mayor, I might just refer that to Mr. Cam, whether he can remember the date.
Through your worship, apologies, I can't remember if it was shared with council at the time, but I can certainly recirculate that out of session.
And to take the second part of the question, just about whether, about the ERA. As the Mayor mentioned, ERA, and this was back when Vicky Chapman was still in office, where Vicky was promoting a scheme where council could access state government funds to assist in purchase of open space. And the ERA group of council, so some time ago, and the ERA group of councils said that it was a priority to preserve open space in the eastern region. That's where that part of the conversation came from.
Councillor Jones.
Look, I'd just like to say, if someone wants to run the motion to support writing this letter to the hockey club, I'd be happy to support that. It doesn't cost us anything. In fact, I'm quite surprised that we haven't already offered to pay for the whole thing. That would be that would be most in keeping with this council. I'm astonished we've actually not spent some money tonight. Whatever next. So look, I'm up for it.
Are you happy for me to put the Councillor Henschke, you seconded it, but you haven't spoken. Did you wish to second before I return it to Councillor Davey?
Yeah, so, no, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Turnbull. Do you wish to speak?
You know, maybe we should have been including a lot of this information that you were doing before this came to the table. I don't feel we get a lot of information sometimes.
Madam Mayor, I'll address that.
All right. You're having a go at me. That's right.
No. I don't think that's a fair comment in the context of what's been before you this evening. What is being asked of you is simply asking letting Campbelltown know that we're interested in preserving open space and potentially for the Burnside Hockey Club. The alternative for the land is housing.
Yeah, that's what
So,
will be happening. We'll go to renewal, they're saying we'll be housing.
but again, the motion that's before you is simply to note the Mayor's report.
Councillor Zing.
Thanks, Mayor. I just had a question. There's been a lot of talk about lobbying Campbelltown Council, but the land is owned by the state government. Shouldn't we be writing to the state government as well about our views about keeping open land, for example, to Minister Champion's office?
Madam Mayor, as I mentioned 5 minutes ago, we have already written to the state government and advised them that we have an interest in keeping land as open space. Campbelltown, for whatever reason, made an approach to the hockey club and said, look, if Burnside are interested, can they talk to us? Again, the motion on the screen is simply to note the report, but if council's of a mind to consider the second part, it is simply letting Campbelltown know that the Burnside Hockey Club would be interested in using that open space, and it will allow Campbelltown, should they wish to make a submission to the government, to include it in their commentary. That's what's been said.
They might decide that they're not interested in hockey at all and go soccer. So, or they might like to negotiate if they have a chance to. they are actually already negotiating with Mr Champion. So they may decide that they're not interested in hockey club bid at all. Always, this original report was to say that we write to Campbell to say we do support the club's opportunity for them to ask for support. That's all. Anyway, Councillor Dawes.
I move the motion be put, Mayor.
Seconder?
My say, which is the rationalisation for... You've had your say, Mayor, I haven't had mine.
Okay, I've got to stop the meeting. I'm getting some instructions here. Procedural motion. The motion be put. That's right. That's what I understood. So, but we don't have to have a second. We have to have a seconder for that, don't we? Right. That's what I was asking for.
I want to
So I seek a seconder for the procedural motion. The motion be put. Those. I need a seconder. If we don't have a seconder, we continue the debate.
I'm very happy to sum up and move on.
Okay.
Have we got a second?
No, we obviously haven't got a seconder because Councillor... Oh, we have got a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Henschke.
Oh, that was a bit late. Point of order.
Point of order. Here we go. Could you explain your point of order, please, why it's procedurally incorrect?
You had called 3 times and then moved on and said we would have to hear from Councillor Davey, and then Councillor Henschke put her finger.
And I also asked for you not to keep on putting your name on the screen, which you did time and time again.
I didn't hear that.
After I had said I'm waiting to find out if there is a seconder. We now have a seconder, so I'm happy for us to put the motion right now. So those in favour of the motion as it stands, please raise your hands. The motion, that the motion be put.
Without me having my say to sum up. Bastard, Mike Dawes. She had her say more than I did. No, I'm cross. This is procedural. It shouldn't be done like this. If this is an era project, why isn't it an era project?
I can explain that further, but I'm sure you don't want me to speak.
I want to have my say. Thank you.
Sorry for that, Madam Mayor.
That's right.
So just to
I'm glad
clarify,
you're getting it official.
just to
Anything
clarify,
I say or do is wrong.
just to clarify, what we're voting on now is that the motion be put. We're not voting on the motion just yet. If this motion is successful, then the motion just gets voted on directly straight afterwards. So we are voting now on should the motion be put without any further debate.
Right. Should the motion be put? Yes. If you're in support of it, please raise your hands.
Please don't.
Against? The motion is carried. So the motion is put.
Did you say?
Yeah, he voted. Yes. Yeah.
Gee, we've lost the plot.
Now, I'm going to put the motion as it stands. That is, receives and notes the Mayor's activity report 1 February to 29 February 2024. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
You're moving it, eh? Are you going to make it?
Okay.
Could I seek leave of the meeting to move item number 2?
I give you permission to do that.
Could I move item number 2 that we write to the City of Campbelltown expressing council's support of the hockey club for this piece of land, obviously to be retained as open space. So I move that component as a separate motion.
And Councillor Henschke, you're seconding that?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor, do you wish to speak or reserve your right?
Reserve. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Hallett, do you wish to speak? Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I'll now have my say. Thank you for all the information about that this is an ERA project, an Eastern Regional Alliance project, which we were told in the last item's discussion was the case. I've seen no evidence of that, and if it is an item of ERA business, it should come to us from the CEO, in my opinion. It's very unusual that the Mayor drives this without a motion on notice. That would be the proper forum for this to be put up. And as the tone of the debate seemed to be, that it would carry a lot of weight if other councils did this lobbying, I fail to see why it isn't being considered by ERA as the group, the forum, which meets, gosh, I don't know how often, but pretty often, and which we don't know what goes on, but this is the sort of thing that they should be considering, I thought. I absolutely agree that we need to maintain and acquire as much open space as possible, but that we, the council, need to be kept informed of what's being discussed and that we make decisions accordingly. Council is the decision-making body for the City of Burnside, and we need to know whether we need to lobby the government, support other councils, support ERA's decisions along these lines, allocate funds for this process, all the normal business of council. So my objection is that this is a very unfortunate way to bring this sort of business to council and to lobby us, especially, and I do admit, for a club that has no long history in Burnside. It abandoned Burnside, it abandoned its clubhouses. We had to spend a huge lot of money demolishing their clubhouses about 18 years ago. So they didn't do the right thing when they were in Burnside. I understand the reasons why, but they don't really have that much standing. So I don't support this. I think they can do their own lobbying. I think the state government has long ago probably earmarked this for housing, and hopefully there will be some open space associated with it, but I can't support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Will, did you want to speak first?
Madam Mayor, I've received clarification of the fact that in September last year, it was contained in my CEO report of the advice that I provided to the state government.
And I did actually report to you all about the 5 different items that ERA councils all agreed to, that we went to both the state, the Labor Party and the Liberal Party back before the last elections with 5 items. The first one was open space and the use of school ovals. Yeah. Second one was about trees. The third one was about bike paths and improving the connectivity of bike paths between the councils. So those things, I can't remember the other 2, but those were the 3 highest priority ones that we have, that you were aware of, that I did talk to you about, 18 months ago. So those items were there. ERA has continued with those 5 items as their biggest priorities in terms of continuity, because they are all needs of the Eastern Regional Councils. And this just happens to be, the club contacted Chris and I, they came and had a chat with us. Campbelltown City Council, because it's in Campbelltown, they will make the final decision anyway as to whether, if of course, the state government is willing to sell the land.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, you're influencing the debate.
No, I'm giving you information about why, because you're telling me that you haven't been given enough
I've
information.
actually asked for a report on what ERA's doing, and we're waiting to receive it, because we haven't had it pulled together in a format that we can, so we know what's going on.
Wilkins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will support this because I do believe I was driving past back from football when this whole debacle of selling off this former Teachers College site and Murray House, which was donated to the government, and here they are selling off a historic property yet again. I think this prime piece of land should not just be built on. We've seen the example that has happened on Glenside site. It is row upon row of shoeboxes. And we certainly don't want an infill like this in this particular site, where we as ERA councils have a whole lot of gravitas, and if we combine together, as Councillor Cornish has said, we carry greater weight in this coming, shall I say, couple of years up to the next election. So Renewal SA have got their eyes on this spot, big time. So I would suggest that era councils get on to the lobbying of the opposition, because they're the MPs in this particular space, and lobby for this land to be retained for council use in the Eastern Districts, and particularly for sport. We need to encourage more team playing, sporting opportunities for young people, and as they progress to teenagers and to young 20s and 30s, it's absolutely crucial that we keep people involved in sport and off screens, and involved in the community and in team sports. So I do support this notion that we support the Burnside Hockey Club rooms and the land east of St Bernard's Road, McGill, with the era councils. Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
I just had a question. Talking back to ERA and the Eastern Regional Alliance, when is the report coming to council? I've lost the timelines for a report. We had a motion to council,
Through
and
Madam
we're
Mayor,
waiting on an update.
It's coming to the second meeting in April.
Councillor Dawes.
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit worried. We just got to be careful of our words here in council. You know, like I think Councillor Davies said the club abandoned council. I don't think that's right, and I don't think the council abandoned the club either. It was one of those difficult scenarios where it just didn't quite work out, you know, going from grass to synthetic or whatever. This club is proud to be continued to be called the Burnside Hockey Club, despite the fact they probably play everywhere around Adelaide. So I know we're not talking about that, but I just got to be careful of our words, Councillor Davey, because there was a suggestion that the club had done the wrong thing. I don't think they've done the wrong thing here. Well, so there we are. Once again, Mayor, we should not be, while I'm speaking, we should not have another councillor that interrupts here. It's an interpretation, and there are other councillors around the table that would understand what did happen some time ago, before my time. I believe now we've got a very, very strong club with excellent administration who are trying to do the right thing, who've made contact with Campbelltown Council, are seeking our support, and I believe we should do it. Not because a member of my family is involved with the club, because I've never played hockey in my life, but the fact that I think this club is doing the right thing. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to apologise to the CEO for saying that he hadn't passed on information when obviously he had.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Zing.
Just quickly, Mayor, following on from Councillor Wilkins' comment about the lobbying the opposition in this area, would it be worthwhile to add in, I think this falls into Hartley, if I'm correct, this area here in particular, so adding the letter to Vincent Tasia?
Through Madam Mayor, I'm certainly happy to take that on board and CC in all the relevant political party and members as such. Yeah, so I think that's a very good suggestion.
Councillor Davey, you have another question?
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, well, I just have a comment. Like Councillor Turnbull, I wish to apologise to the CEO and the administration for, if I missed that information that was circulated to us, but it would have helped if a copy of that had been put in with the document that we're reading tonight. Thank you, so that we had all the information.
And I must say, Madam Mayor, thank you for the apologies. Not required, but thank you. And I take your point. I probably should have put that in.
If there's no one else who wishes to speak, now who moved it? Councillor Cornish, you wish to sum up now?
Yeah, I do hope you support the motion. Obviously, we've got our environmental strategy, we've got our sport and recreation strategy, we've got our council strategy, and a lot of them say that we advocate. And I think this is a great example of us trying to advocate for retaining open space. Sure, it's not in our area, but it certainly will benefit quite a number of our residents who use those facilities not far from our borders. So I hope you do support the motion. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now we have to 13.1, page 188. School crossings, Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would hopefully on the screen, I had a alternative motion.
Just through you, Madam Mayor, if I can just clarify for Councillor Wilkins. Due to our meeting procedures, you will need to move your motion.
Yes.
And if you have someone else that is able to move an amendment to your motion, that's how you'll get your proposed changes in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For that added. Right, I would like to move the motion on page 188 of the agenda, which I have come to the conclusion that we need to identify these arterial road school and pedestrian crossings. Do I need to read out the whole motion? I don't think I do, you've got it all there. But whilst I've been home the last 12 months, I have noticed every time I'm crossing, going or driving on Portrush Road, the two signal crossings, pedestrian crossings on Highway 1, Portrush Road for Loretto. There are two signal crossings there. There's a signal crossing on Highway 1, Portrush Road at Linden Park near Aldi, and Linden Park Primary School is one of the frequent users, and others use that crossing to get to Glenunga High School. And also in my local area, Parkside Primary School and the two pedestrian crossings on Glen Osmond Road at Eastwood are all used by school children. They're main arterial roads, and I believe that the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport should upgrade these school crossings, because the template has been set, and it was set earlier this year when you read these articles that were in the Advertiser, when the young student, I should say, was hurt, and lives have all changed. Even the driver has up on a charge of dangerous driving. So these instances need to be avoided in our community. The improvements to the crossing at Marriotteville High School involved the reduction of foliage on either side of the road on Kenzie Road to improve the sightline for drivers. There were brighter red and green colours that I've noticed in the traffic signal lighting. The red and white candy cane transfers on the signal poles highlight to the driver that there is a crossing there. And also on the road, they've put painted white transfers, actual images of children crossing the road, and signals actually printed in very large text. There should be black iron fencing either side of the road so that no children accidentally run into the path of traffic. And there is a large road sign warning and indicating and warning that a school crossing is ahead for approaching motorists. And these are B doubles. Some of them are even triples late at night, but not that there'll be cyclists out there as well. So I suggest that we write and let the Minister know that with a copy of this motion, and suggest that there was some action in improving these pedestrian crossings so that not only pedestrians, school children, but also cyclists use these crossings to actually cross these main roads. We're about 6,000 movements of traffic on Highway 1 each day. So I suggest that we follow point 1 and point 2, that we write to the member for Bragg, the member for Sturt, and Mayor Hewitson in Unley, because he needs to be aware of what I'm suggesting in Eastwood, because there are two crossings to Parkside Primary School on Glen Osmond Road. So I would urge that you support this motion as well. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish, you're seconding?
I'm happy to second. Am I able to move the variation, or is that a requirement of someone else? someone else has to do it, I've just been told, so I'm happy to second the motion and leave it up to someone else around the chamber to move the variation.
Councillor Dawes, are you going to move the
well,
variation?
the variation, I think, came from Councillor Henske of adding cyclists as well into number 1. So it was read for both schools, students, residents and cyclists. And the other variation, which I just realised, Loretto College is in Nord Paynham. So we should also write to the Mayor of Nord Paynham as well.
Perhaps in that first bit was a safer pedestrian and cycling experience.
Okay, cycling, okay. Whatever that change was being put forward. Thank you, Councillor Henske. So I'm suggesting that, and if the mover and the seconder, he's left the room. Oh. Okay. Oh.
Who was that? Someone else? You mentioned someone else you wanted to send it to, Councillor Wilkins? The Mayor, sorry, it was you.
Yes, the Mayor of Nord Paynham, because Loretto College.
Loretto is Nord Paynham St Peters, it is.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yep. So we can, yeah. We can add that.
They adjusted off the screen.
Oh, okay, of course. Yes, 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 yes. I forgot. Yeah, they've got the cycling in.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah, and so it makes more sense of safer pedestrian and cycling experience.
Students, residents and cyclists.
Safer pedestrian, but you said earlier pedestrian experience, so it makes better sense to say a safer pedestrian and cycling experience for both school students. And both students and residents.
I agree to the variation.
Okay. Now we're back.
No, I had a question. Just to clarify Councillor Davies' question, it was just a variation that needed to be agreed between the mover and the seconder.
Yep.
And Councillor Wilkin moved and Councillor Cornish seconded, and as far as I understand, they're happy with that.
All right. Councillor Jones, you're next to speak.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If I reflect on the Sarah Hughes crossing on Greenhill Road, the state government had no interest in that until we offered to pay for it. Would this letter be stronger if we said, and I hate to spend money, but let's put our money where our mouth is, we would be prepared to pay for at least some, if not all, of the crossings if they're in Burnside? Because then it might not immediately get filed in file 13 with a Councillor Cornish equivalent writing us a polite letter saying, thanks for your letter, it'll sit at the bottom of the filing cabinet for the next 100 years. Yeah.
Through Madam Mayor, whilst I'd say your comments are commendable, in essence, that's writing a blank cheque.
Yes.
And at this stage, we don't actually understand what cost might be involved. That's my only concern with that thought.
Councillor Hensch.
I wanted to reflect also that not only Loretto College students walk, cycle around that area, but you've also got Marrickville students also come from those suburbs across and in St Ignatius, and they all walk and cycle across to get to Marrickville. So if you're writing to the other school, that would be good.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Otherwise, I'll go back to Councillor Wilkins. Oh, sorry. Councillor Cornish, you wanted to second. You have the opportunity to second.
But
do you wish to speak?
Yes, if I
could. Go.
I do support the motion. Thank you, everyone, for your additional additions. Luckily, there is a decent pedestrian crossing with all of them, so we wouldn't, they're there. It's probably a little bit of paint There are some red light cameras already at some of them as well, so that's quite handy that they're already there, because I think that's where the big cost comes in, Councillor Jones, is installing red light cameras. But look, community safety is important, so I do support this and I hope you do too.
Councillor Wilkins, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, and I thank you all for your support, because that was the motion for me putting up this motion. I just do not want to see anybody hurt at any crossing. The template has been set on Kensington Road at Marriotteville. I see no reason, if the government is at all sincere about road safety, cyclists, pedestrians and students using the crossings on Highway 1, that they should not go ahead and upgrade all the crossings on major arterial roads. St Ignatius Junior School, even on William Street, opposite Norwood Garden Centre, have candy cane poles on William Street, just off the highway. So thank you for supporting this motion. I think it's really important that we do.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we need to move to confidential items. So, Councillor Cornish, are you going to read that famous motion of yours? No, you don't need it. Just move it. Okay.
I'll move it.
Okay, Councillor Henschke, you're moving that we move into confidential mode.
I know, right? Just like you, voting against this every time. Typecast.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Hallett, thank you. Moving into confidence. And